know.
There's a taste that gets in your mouth when you taste defeat. Listen, nothing beats winning. Winning in golf is probably the hardest thing to win at. There's 156 guys that play each week. And then a dude like Tiger Woods comes along and you're like, well, there goes the guy that's got, it's like playing poker with some ass that's got all aces every time you play. Think about Phil Mickelson's career. If Tiger doesn't, might have been the best golfer of all time. As soon as Tiger shows up, Phil's like, well, crazy.
That's
48 times. Still in the conversation of the all-time best. When you lose, there's something about that punch in the nose that is a differentiator. It's like, you want that feeling again?
on today's show of Tools, Talents, and Techniques. I'm very proud to welcome Mr. Jay Delsing. He's a golf's insider storyteller. He's a PGA Tour veteran, nationally syndicated host of Golf with Jay, author of You Wouldn't Believe Me If I Told You, which is a great title, Jay. An unforgettable memoir of golf, grit, and a blue-collar kid on the PGA Tour. Without any further ado, here he is, Jay Delsing. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you, Dustin. It's great to be with you, man. Thanks for having me.
You know, I was just talking to Jay. I was just talking to you before we came on here about some of the questions that I had of you. And there were so many because of, your life, but there were some things that, and maybe it's in your book, I haven't picked it up yet, I will, that I wanted to find out about, like your origin story and how it started. Because you mentioned getting into golf as a youth. How old were you when you first picked up a stick?
Yeah, so I was, my dad played professional baseball. He was played in the big leagues for 10 years back in the and he played for the 49 New York Yankees as a rookie, won the World Series. Sports was in our family's blood. I'm the fourth of five. And back in the day, my dad grew up on a dairy farm, Dustin, in Wisconsin, and they moved to St. Louis. And we had a little bitty house. My dad finished high school at night. He wasn't an educated guy, so when he finished playing, it was like, take whatever job you can get. And so we were always around a stick and a ball, a bat and a ball, a football, shooting whatever it was. We were always around there. And our house was little bitty. And I had three older sisters, my younger brother and I. We were always outside playing. So I started first seeing golf when I was around 12, and then I started caddying. And that's kind of where the blue collar part comes in, because I started in this thing as a caddy. And I wanted to be a professional athlete. That's what I've always wanted to be. And I thought it would be in baseball, my first love. But, back where I grew up, you had to round up the whole neighborhood together. And then like in the third inning, the shortstop on the other team has to go home and have dinner, and the game goes to hell. And so it was so golf wound up being this outlet that I could do by myself. And then I could do it as much as I want. I didn't need a bunch of stuff. I started playing with my mom's clubs. I didn't know they weren't cool. They were red. And I didn't know red was bad until someone told me, dude, you're playing with women's clubs. I'm like, no, I'm not. They go, that says Louise Suggs. I'm like, it says Lou Suggs. And I don't even know who either one of them were. We didn't have the internet or anything. So we were just winging it. And so that's really how it started. Because of the way I grew up, it was impressed upon me at a really early age. It's like, whatever's going to happen, you got to make it happen. We're not, don't wait for somebody to, my dad used to say stuff to my brother and I, like, make a move, even if it's wrong. And we took that to heart because we'd made a lot of mistakes, but we've also done okay. And so that was kind of how it all started. And I saw my dad play a couple of times as a kid. And then I was like, man, what is that sport? I don't know that. And it just kind of bit me when I was young, Dustin. And thank God it hasn't let go, because you have a lot of really cool people on your show. And I'm the luckiest person you've ever had on here, because my life was made through the game. And it could have, none of my friends that I grew up with, but got to play with movie stars and presidents and yada, yada. But, I did it. It was all because of golf.
So when you mentioned that your dad played on the championship Yankees team, well, congrats as a family. And that's amazing. Being around professional athletes at a young age, did you know at that time that like it was possible? Right. Because that's one thing people, when you see things out there like, oh, these people are professional basketball, football, baseball, whatever it is. And you're like, Yeah, but those people are special. Did you have a feeling like I can do this?
Yeah, the greatest thing that my parents did for we 5 siblings was think that anything was possible. We didn't think anything was off limits. We weren't smart enough to be afraid, you know? I tell people it was just the way we were. It was, my parents were like, "You can do anything you put your mind to if you work hard enough at it," and so I didn't really. But the funny thing, Dustin, I can remember when I started to be a teenager, when I was a teenager and I started getting good. I started shooting under par every time I played. And man, you wouldn't believe the adults that tried to talk me out of my dream. Because and one of the coolest things about being a parent, I know you're a girl dad. I have 4 daughters, and it's great to be a girl dad. But I could look my girls in the eye, Dustin, and I could say to them, and they were volleyball players. I'm tall, I'm 6'5", they're tall girls. And I said, "Who do you think's gonna be the setter, or who's gonna be the outside hitter for the US national team this year?" And they're like, "I don't know, Dad." I'm like, "I don't know either, but why can't it be Brennan Delsing? Or why can't it be Joe Delsing? Or, my daughters, why not?" Oh, and so we just encouraging them to aim high because, I wanted to be number 1 player in the world, the best player in the world, and I never got there. But I got to it, and as I look back at it now, I'm like, "Okay, that's not too bad." But while I was doing it, Bud, it was lousy. Yeah, I didn't think anything. I was like, "You just gotta keep going. You gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep trying to improve." So that's kind of the way we're raised.
And being raised with that work ethic and then being around, professional athletes and people that believe, what were there things that you understood as far and maybe I mean, for the time, maybe training wasn't as intense as it is now.
Sure.
Did Were you informed on the amount of preparation that it takes to
I was informed on nothing. It was like, "Dude, throw me in and can you swim?" Or, it was like that term drinking from a fire hose. As a kid, you don't know what you don't know. You're just taking one day at a time and going, "This is still pretty cool." I mean, I would caddy, and my dad would drop me off at Norwood Hills Country Club, which is this golf course in North County in St. Louis area where I grew up. I'm fortunate to be a member there now, and I love it. But you know, and he dropped me off at sunup at 6:30 and picked me up at dark. And he goes, "What are you doing up here all day?" And I'm like, "Dad, I'm caddying." And then hey, I basically, Dustin, hung around long enough till the guy said, "Why don't you go play or something?" I'd be like, "You got it," because this golf course was really good. And the course I grew up on was really crappy. And so I just spent all day there until they hired me to work in the back room. So I stopped caddying and worked in the back room. So I had a steady job. I had a place to go. I got a place to play. It was like ideal for me.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started shooting under par? You mentioned you were a
Probably
teenager.
14. It
Really?
wasn't a bad curve. It wasn't, but I got to tell you that as a dad now, I didn't appreciate how weird I was because, you have the kids that are normal and they want to go swing and then they want to go swim and then they want to have a popsicle and then they want to go play on their bike and I was like this, "Fine, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this." So, I mean, I'd walk off the 18th green and walk right over to the first tee and I'd be by myself, and it's weird, because yeah, it's just weird that I didn't mind being by myself. I didn't have to have somebody to play with. I mean, I liked having someone to play with, but it wasn't mandatory. I'd ride my
Especially if you're beating them every time.
well, I'd ride my bike with my clubs on my back and the things I did, the things that we did, but as kids back then, no way do parents do that now with their kids. No, there's just the world has changed in so many ways, but back then it was just really simple. You know what I mean? It was really simple. Nobody had cell phones. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't do something like this right now, which is way better now. But at 5 o'clock, my ass was home every night, or else I was in trouble, and I never wore a watch. How did you just knew, you know what I mean? And the neighborhood looked out for you, and it was like, you better get your ass home because, there was like a neighborhood watch. You didn't need police. You didn't mess around with, Mr. Smith's house over there. He was a ninja about his grass, and everybody, it was just a different world. And I'm grateful for the time that I grew up in because the time that my kids are growing up in now and my grandkids it's much harder.
Do you find yourself well, yeah, so, times change and some things good, some things bad, but being able to evolve with the times, and that's I wanna get to this later, especially when we start talking about reflections in your memoir. I'm excited to talk about that. But I wanna talk about this single track, I'm gonna do this thing, you love it, you do it. Did that show up in any other ways in your life, like, that you just had a single track focus that you could do it? Did you see that growing up in other ways?
It's interesting, but what it really is my competitiveness. So it comes up all the time. I hate to lose. I just don't like to lose. And so, I mean, when I got to school, I was competitive with everybody school wise, and then as soon as we got outside, I wanted to run faster, be, better at soccer or football, baskets, whatever, but we played every sport. I just had John Cook on my show last week, and we talked specifically about the weather dictated what sport you played. So when the leaves started falling off, I didn't know where my golf clubs were, but I knew where my football cleats were, and I knew where my soccer shoes were. And then when the snow fell, I was playing basketball. And then springtime came along, like, where are my clubs? And are we going to play some baseball? So that sort of stuff I loved, and it made I've had Jack Nicklaus on my show, all of these greats, Tom Watson, Curtis Strange, Lee Trevino, all talk about how important it was in their life and in their career to play other sports because it just these coaches make their parents think that their children are going to miss out by not playing all this soccer or all this volleyball and by the time they get to college, they're either completely worn out, their body's shot, there's surgeries involved. There's just you're not ready for that much repetitive motion at that early. I've had 3 foot surgeries, new knee, 2 back surgeries. Your body's not meant for this stuff. And when you do what we do over and over again, there's a price to be paid. And when it's your kids, you need to have a parent that stands up there and says, "Great. I don't care if you're the best team in Washington or not. My daughter is gonna go play lacrosse, and she's skipping volleyball this time, or she's skipping the select team to go do something else." And I gotta tell you, when I made my daughters do that, they came out charging on the court when they came back, man. They were so excited to play.
Jay, I talk about this all the time with our friends because so I also have an 11-year-old son. So I have a 14-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son, and he's a good athlete. He's actually a really good athlete. And but from a young age, we could start to see the funneling into these sports and these select teams. And my wife and I are thinking like we don't want him to be burned out before he even hits puberty, like on
This is
anything.
supposed to be fun. When
Yeah,
I mean, it's the thing that everybody wants. This is the deal. All these parents, because I've been asked this a zillion times, bro, because 2 of my 4 daughters got D1 scholarships. Everybody wants their kid to get free college. Everybody wants them to be this guy, that girl, this thing. When the time comes for your son or daughter to get to that point, they're gonna bail if it's not in them. Because the university, for good or bad, there's NIL money, now they can get paid for it, for it's still the same. They own you in terms of your life. You think the college experience is, I mean, we golfers just happen to be self-starters. When I played at UCLA, I played on perhaps the best college team of all time with Corey Pavin, Steve Pate, Duffy Waldorf, Tom Bernice, and I. We all played at the same time. But Bud, we wanted to kick crap out of each other every single day. We were trying to get better and better every single. We didn't need any coach to tell us, you know. But I tell you what, the guys whose parents pushed them were all smoking weed and hanging out and not practicing, and they couldn't touch us because that fire was gone. And as soon as that fire goes, that's why you take your hat off to someone like Michael, MJ, or LeBron, that are able to maintain this ultra high level, Tiger Woods, ultra high level for so many years, bro. Because I'm telling you, there's a price to be paid for all of that. Relationships, your body, all sorts of different things, man. It is. That's why Jack Nicklaus is so exceptional to me, because he's got the best family ever. His wife is an absolute drop dead rock star. She sent me christening gifts for the birth of my 4 daughters. Me. I was nobody. but I knew the family, and that's and here's a guy that stayed married, got 40 something grandkids, and is going to go down as the best player of all time, even though if Tiger could have managed to, a lot of people say to me, gosh, isn't it too bad what John Daly has just not taken advantage of everything? Tiger's a worst case scenario than John. If Tiger took care of himself off the golf course, injury wise, all the personal drama and everything, Tiger wins 150 tournaments and 30 to 40 majors. Tiger's winning percentage, bro, was 27%. Jack's was just over 9.
That's a crazy stat.
That is insane.
That
And
is insane.
Jack, but look, who's got the majors? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Let me ask you about that. I'm going to go back to your competitiveness
Yeah.
because it came back to me when you started
I
talking
hop
about
all
the,
over the place, man. I'm sorry. So good luck.
no. I love it, man. First of all, I love it. Just you go. Like this is your stage. I love this. I want to ask you about the competitiveness because do you feel like you hate to lose or love to win more? Where is that on?
Hate to lose.
Yeah.
There's a taste that gets in your mouth when you taste defeat. Listen, nothing beats winning. Winning in golf is probably the hardest thing to win at. There's 156 guys that play each week. And then a dude like Tiger Woods comes along and you're like, well, there goes a guy that's got, it's like playing poker with some ass that's got all aces every time you play, And then think about this, bro. Think about Phil Mickelson's career if Tiger comes along 15 years later. Phil Mickelson might have been the best golfer of all time. As soon as Tiger shows up, Phil's like, well, crazy. It's still Phil won 48 times. I mean, 48 times. Still in the conversation of the all-time best. But when you lose, there's something about that punch in the nose that is a differentiator. It's like, you want that feeling again? Michael Jordan talked about it in his little black book. I don't know if it's a great little book for your kids to read. It's like 40 pages. But Michael Jordan got cut from the basketball team as a freshman in high school. And he used that feeling to fuel him for most of his life.
Yeah, I've heard the story. Yeah.
Got it. And so it's here's the other thing, Dustin, that's interesting, especially with golf, because nowadays the kids are making fortunes and fortunes of money. God bless them. Wonderful. And they're better players than we were when we were playing. But they have all these teams and they're insulated by all of these agents and everything. We didn't have anything like that. We had our family and that was it. And when you don't have anything to rely on, when you're out spending, $2,000 on your hotel room and $1,500 on your caddy, $500 on your food, and then you're standing over a 5-foot putt on Friday to make the cut, that means if I make this, I get paid. If I miss, I'm get zero. That's what the other athletes don't get. This stuff comes out of our pockets. And especially back in the day, before Tiger came, we didn't play for much money. So man, we were driving to things and it was a totally different animal. And I don't begrudge them at all. Hell, I just wish I was younger because I'd love to play professional golf now. It would be absolutely fantastic. I'd probably hit the ball 400 yards. I still couldn't hit it straight, but I never hit it straight when I hit it 300 yards. So it doesn't matter. But it's just, there's that. You learn about yourself in the lows. You figure out what kind of human being you are. How do you treat people when you shoot 65? Oh, hey, buddy, everything is great. Skies are blue and I'm the greatest guy ever. Now I just shot 75 and I missed my 4th cut in a row. How do you treat people? That's how you learn about what sort of human being you're going to become. And what does it do to you? Obviously, it pisses you off. Obviously, it disappoints you. But does it throw you back and try to make you work harder? Or do you just go, shit, man, maybe I can't do this?
So how did you deal with the mental part of the game and that pressure and feeling that? Because as a competitive person, you're going through these moments of ups and downs. And when the downs, you're faced with that. How did you find your best mental state to go through that? Do you read, or were there mentors or people that talked to you? How did you develop your mindset?
My 3rd year on tour, I started a relationship with Bob Rotella, who's a world-renowned sports psychologist, works with all the best golfers in the last 30 years. He's a dear friend of mine. I've actually got a chapter in one of his books, but that helped me remarkably. And then, believe it or not, and I saw the absolute opposite happen to some buddies of mine, is that once I started having children, it made it easier for me. And most of my friends were like, "Oh, man, more pressure, more mouths to feed. Now what do I do?" And I was like, "My girls don't give a damn if I shoot 65 or 105. They want me around. They want me to be with them. I wanna be with them." It just felt like it didn't matter nearly as much. I don't
So
know why it went that way for me, but it really and truly did. I had these things. I wear some bracelets on my right wrist now still, but my daughters made these things called friendship bracelets back in the '80s, and man, I took a rash of grief from the boys on the tour, but I held those dear to me because whenever I got my most nervous, Dustin, I look down and be like, Mackenzie doesn't give a shit, man. This putt goes in, she loves me. If this putt doesn't go in, she doesn't. We're still gonna go to the pool. We're still gonna go to the movies. We're still gonna, hang out, and it doesn't make a difference. I'm just dad. And that was the thing that grounded me better than everything. I didn't have a great marriage when I played. It was really, really tough. I'm grateful for my daughters and that so that made it exceptionally hard to do what I was trying to do. That was probably one of the things that was the hardest part of the whole thing because I didn't have a supportive partner. She might say the same thing. I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, just trying to be real. And so it just wasn't good. And we tried and stick together for probably too long. But, when you look at the guys that are some of the most successful guys, they've got some rocks to rely on. And oftentimes, I don't know how women ever became the weaker sex, bro. They are way stronger than us, man. They are ballers. They are tougher. They are. So I'm a huge fan of the girls, but that was kind of one of those things, when you're and I got married, I was 23 or 4. I mean, bro, I didn't know what kind of shoes to put with what sort of pants, and I'm getting married and that sort of thing. But we just off we went and started playing the tour and started having a family and trying to figure it out, and then life happens to you. You just never really know how people are going to react to stuff, man. So, there's down times it's X, there's positive times it's Y. Man, I've seen people just go absolutely nutty when they start making a bunch of money. Where the money makes people kooky, just stupid. So I've seen it all and experienced a lot, and I wouldn't change anything of it. Even though I made plenty of mistakes, I wouldn't change any of it. It's kind of makes you who you are. I got all these scars, wrinkles, gray hair. This is what it looks like, man. And to some degree, but I've made it to the other side, and I'm still looking back at it and as a learning experience is really fun. I was lucky. I really truly truly was lucky, and so yeah, I'm good.
yeah. Well, so as far as you going and doing your memoir, I would imagine that it could be very cathartic and therapeutic to go back and look at these things, not necessarily as regrets, but looking back on those things and having perspective now that you've had time to see what those things actually meant in your life. How long were you working on your memoir? When did that journey begin? And what was that process like for you?
Excuse me. I never thought I'd ever write a book. My buddy Will Salisbury, who's one of my dearest friends in the world now, kept pushing me, and I'm like, dude, will you lay off? Nobody's going to read this thing. We would COVID came in. I had a business. I had a hospitality and entertainment business that I started in '92 when I was playing the tour, and it was thriving. And then COVID came along and was went to nothing. So I opened a wine bar here in West County, St. Louis, and I got to meet a whole different style of networking friends. And Will is one of those guys. And he would just we'd sit around, have a drink, and start talking. And it's like, my gosh, your stories are fantastic. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're just two guys sitting around drinking a beer talking. But when I thought about the things that I've missed from a dad's perspective, I tried to make everything I could. When I was home, Dustin, I was home. I wasn't hanging out with my boys. I wasn't, I would take the girls to the ballpark, so I love baseball. You know, they love baseball. Consequently, we go to a lot of hockey games, but we would go to their dance recitals. I would do whatever. Drove carpool every day I was home. Got up with them, made breakfast every day. I didn't miss that stuff. But when I was gone, I was out. You know, I'm in a different city and I'm trying to figure out how to make money. I realized I thought, man, maybe it would be kind of cool if there's a collection of stuff that the girls could go back on and read about why I was gone. You know, this is some of this crazier stuff that happened to me, you know, and so I did, and I know you've seen this as a dad. So I get this thing done. It took about, you asked how long it took. It was a slog. I've read that damn book way too many times, bro. Way too many times. But it took probably about 18 to 20 months. You know, the writing part was the easy part, the rereading. And this is what was really crazy. All the different tenses in the golf vernacular. I'm working with a proofreader. He doesn't know a golf tee from a 5 iron. And so when he says to me, "What do you mean you're standing on the green? Like, what is the green?" Or and I'm like, "It's the where you putt." It's like, "Putt?" You know, so we had to go through so many of these instances. He's like, "What's a practice range?" You know, is it a driving range? You know, so there's all of this weird, dumb kind of golf vernacular that we had to plow through and go through to try to get it right. And the funny thing is, but I send a copy. Well, so I want to do this opening for the girls. No one else has seen the book. My brother, who's probably my closest friend in my whole world, no one's seen it yet. I send a copy to the girls. I got one in New York, one in LA, one in Alabama, one in Indiana. FedEx them, don't open it. We're jumping on a Zoom. We're all going to open this together. They all open it up, Dustin. They go, "That's great. Dad wrote a book." I was like, okay, that didn't go exactly the way I'd hoped. So maybe that's something that'll happen later. I laugh about it now because I was thinking that maybe it'd be a different reaction. But again, as a dad, sometimes the stuff just falls flat, you know, and so that did. And I was like, okay, whatever. But, I've gotten great responses when someone I don't know sends me an email and says, "I had no idea, you know, about the tour. I had no idea about this happened or that happened," and that they really enjoyed it, then that's worth it. If I can get one person to read it and go wanna play golf, enjoying the game, worth it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's amazing. So did you I know it's a slog, but did you enjoy part of the process of going back and looking at those moments? I know there's a lot of stories and you probably told them many times and now you have to get into detail and change the wording, but also going back in the challenging times and thinking like, "Man, I if I could have done that again, not regrets, but looking
Yeah.
back on that reflective. Did was that enjoyable?"
Absolutely. It was also made me realize how fortunate I was because again, things could have gone so much differently. You know, I've played in somewhere around 700, you know, PGA Tour type events. That's a hell of a deal. If you'd have said to me when I was 14, here's what's going to happen. You're never going to win the tournaments you want to win, but you're going to have this career. You're going to be able to support a family. You're going to be able to do this the rest of your life. Would you sign up? I'd be like, hell yeah. You know, what kid wouldn't? You know, because you really don't know what you're gonna get. You know, you're gonna get your injuries. It's hell when I get out of bed in the morning, bro. It's ugly. It's limpy and sore and everything. I'm like, it's well worth it. I'd do it over again tomorrow if I could. So yeah, the biggest thing that golf mirrors so many life lessons, Dustin, is that you just find out about who you are, how you treat people. You know, here's an interesting thing that I learned. How do you treat people in your life that don't matter? Like they can't do something for you, like your waiter or your waitress or your valet person or someone like that that's just kind of a happenstance meeting. How do you treat those people? You know, and the coolest thing about the situations, what you'll notice when you read my book is that I'm thrown into situations I don't really belong. You know, I played golf with Sean Connery, who's the biggest actor in Hollywood. When I'm a freshman, I'm 2 weeks into my college career. I don't even know what question to ask him, and I get to play 9 holes with this is the coolest man crush I have on him. I'm like, "You're the coolest person in the whole world." you know?
Was he that cool in
Oh
person?
my god, dude, I'm standing on the putting green in Bel Air, which is an amazing golf course anyway, and trying to be like, "What am I doing in LA?" I don't know one person. My parents, this is another great one. I got my golf clubs, I got a suitcase this big, I got 2 pair of shoes, and my parents hugged me at the curb at the airport in St. Louis, and I fly to LA and don't know anybody. I don't know the person picking me up at LAX, which is a terrifying airport today. I could be kidnapped and taken to Tijuana and never seen again. And I'm sitting there with my golf clubs waiting for some guy who comes up to me and goes, "Are you Jay Delsing?" And I go, "I am." And he goes, "I'm taking you to your lodging." And I'm like, "Let's go." 2 weeks later, a guy taps me on the shoulder while I'm on the putting green at Bel Air, and he says, "Young man, would you care to play 9 holes of golf with me?" I turn around and it's Sean Connery. Now, this is 007. This is 1979. This dude's got some sort of Scottish accent that is super cool. And he goes, "You're part of the," I said, "Sir, I'm not a member at this club. I'm thinking I'm just a caddy. I'm not really sure what the hell I'm doing here." He goes, "You're part of the UCLA golf team?" And I go, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "I just checked. They said it's okay." I go, sprint it over, grab my golf bag. He just put his bag on his shoulder, Dustin, and we walked to the tee. So check this out. After 4 holes, he says to me, "Would you quit calling me sir?" So I'm like, I'm calling this dude Sean now. We're walking up the ninth hole, and it was later in the year. So it got dark early. And I'm walking probably 4 feet from this dude who is the mega star in Hollywood. And I said, "I think we should play the back nine." He said, "Jay, I'm having a hard time seeing my ball as it is." I said, "I am too, but I don't want this day to end. This is so cool for me." And he goes, "Well, would you like to come in and have a beer with me afterwards?" I'm 18. I'm like, "Yeah." So
Yeah.
you play, you finish the ninth green at Bel Air Country Club. You walk through a tunnel. No lie. You walk through a tunnel. It's only second time I've ever been on this course. Walk through the tunnel, press a button in an elevator with Sean Connery, takes you up into the middle of the locker room. Never been there before. He tells me what to do, set my bag there. He goes, "Come on, the men's drill's over here. We'll go ahead and go have a drink." I'm like a little puppy following this guy. Runs into 2 buddies, introduces me to George, Steve, whatever. "Yes, sir, no, sir." But I'm like, I got James Bond in my sights and I'm on it, right? They say the pleasantries. I say, "Nice to meet you." We turn the corner. He stops me and he goes, "These guys are uber creative guys. You need to remember their names because they're going to do great stuff in Hollywood. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas." Now, this is 1979. I'm like, I don't give I'm having a beer with you, Steven, whoever, George, whatever. We're going over here, right? We're sitting there having this beer, and you can Google this. We did all of the research on the book to verify all this stuff. John says to me, "Do you know who Barbara Walters is?" Listen, there's never been a dumber kid that's played golf with Sean Connery than me. And I said to him, "Of course I do." I have no idea who she is, right? I'm 18. I have no idea who Barbara Walters is. I don't watch TV. I've got an 800 square foot house with a 13-inch black and white television. I'm outside the entire day. He says, "Well, she's interviewing me this Saturday. I think you'll enjoy it." I go, "Okay." So I go home to the place where I'm staying. By the way, it's a multi-million-dollar mansion on the ninth tee of Bel Air. That's where I'm staying in college. Lana Turner's old home. My host is Barbara McCulloch. Her husband had just died. Her husband invented a chainsaw. Her husband bought the London Bridge, moved to Lake Havasu, Arizona. You can check all this out. It's all true. He
It's crazy.
started PSA Airlines, McCulloch Oil, all this stuff. I said to her, "Mrs. McCulloch, do you know somebody named Barbara Walters?" "Of course I do, honey. She's one of the biggest interviews for ABC television." Well, I said, "I just got to play golf with Sean Connery." She goes, "Isn't he a nice man?" I'm like, where am I? What am I? Everybody, all these guys, I said, "Will you watch this interview with me?" She goes, "Of course. I watch all of her interviews." On that interview, Sean Connery says, "Every good woman needs a slap every now and again."
I've seen that clip. I've seen that
I'm
clip.
sitting there and I'm like, that's pretty much the dude that I just played 9 holes with. He was just, I said, "Do you like LA?" He goes, "Hate it. It's a dump. Hate it. This
Really?
is where my work." He couldn't stand LA. Goes, "This is where I work. This is where,"
Wow.
he's like, I'm like, "This golf course." He goes, "Oh yeah, this golf course is wonderful, but LA." Too many people, too much traffic, smog. I don't know. But I've been there for 2 weeks. I'm like, I think LA's fantastic. What
Well,
do I
yeah, you just met a movie star, like, as soon as you come
Right.
in and you're
I'm like, I'm in.
in this mansion. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first chapter in the book is the thing about James Bond. And what's interesting that we did, whenever we highlight some famous person that I ran into, we do a little brief bio. And so we say Sean Connery, James Bond, 007, 6'2", 64 pounds. His movies have grossed over $3 billion in the box offices or something like that. So it's
Well,
kind
yeah.
of fun. It's almost like a little boxing title. So with Steven Spielberg, it's like 5'6", Phoenix, Arizona. His movies have grossed like and his net worth was like $5.8 billion or something like that. So with George Lucas, because he's kind of a short, stocky guy, we're like, weight indeterminable, net
Well,
worth 5 billion.
let, let me ask you this, especially since you brought up being in LA and being around these celebrities. And I want to tie this back to something you just said about how you treat people that, could do nothing for you, or happenstance meetings, just how you treat people through golf. What's been your take on celebrities, professional athletes, just in general, their personalities? Is there any generalities that you can say that, for the most part, they're like this or like that?
I'd say overall, I've been more disappointed than I've been like awestruck. Like I am not, even when I was at that age, I was taught to respect my elders, but I was never that enthralled with anyone. I really wasn't. And when I got to meet Arnold Palmer, I was like, damn, this guy is like super cool. And he was so down to earth, shook my hand, looked me in the eye, talked to me, played golf with me, and so but some of the celebrities, I just felt a lot of them were just kind of full of themselves, you know? And we were never taught, we were taught like, I mean, I'd come home and have won a golf tournament when I was a kid, and my parents were like, pass the potatoes. It's like, just, that's great. Let's move on. Like, you don't gloat, you don't showboat, you don't, you act like you've done this before and you move on. And so that's kind of the way that I was trying to approach all of it.
And so the lesson through golf, and maybe this is just the medium of having these relationships and talking, did you ever feel like that was the lesson, that you didn't like the way they were, so you weren't going to be that way? I'm trying to tie back.
And
Yeah. Okay.
that wasn't always the case, Dustin, but when it was, I was just kind of like, I don't, I mean, that's great that you're the best football player of all time, but if you're an asshole to people, I'm out. If you're not kind, I'm out. I mean, I don't care. It's like, that's wonderful that if I'm starting a football team, you're probably the guy I'm going to go to. But you can't thank the person that's schlepping your dishes, or you can't, be gracious in some sort of form. I mean, it's just more the way I was raised, and it's absolutely the way I raised my daughters. I think that's really important.
Would like to believe that you can be great at something and a well-rounded human being and kind.
You
I
can't.
believe so, and the fact that you've had experiences with people, like, Arnold Palmer and, Jack Nicklaus, like these folks that you say that you've, been around and met and you've
Yeah,
seen it, and you say they have it, like
they do.
they've done it, so
Yeah,
it's possible. I think that's so huge. I think that's so big, and that's one of the things I like to do with this show, is to be able to meet people that are great people, that are, high performers, that have done great things, that have experiences, and they can share that so other people can see and hear that this is possible. You can achieve anything. You said that before about you teaching your kids that they can do anything, I used to think when I heard that, like, yeah, yeah, but you can't do this and that. But now that I've been through, like, you really can. You got to start. You got to work hard. There's a little bit of luck, but you can. You
well,
can do
there's
it.
a reality. I mean, my daughters aren't going to play in the NFL. You know what I mean? It's not, but we're talking about within reason, and also it has to be kind of on your radar. You know what I mean? It's not like, but for sure. And I got to tell you, the people that do it well, like you're saying, that are top achievers, top earners, and also are able to balance this other parts of life where they don't, they don't go out to dinner thinking they're the U.S. Open champ. They're just Joe. or they're just Jim or what, you know what I mean? It's those guys that go out, that have that chip on their shoulder and those, but I would say, Dustin, there's more of the good than bad, and I'm way more of a glass half full than half empty guy. But it's just, I played on tour for 28 years, met a lot of people, man. You see a lot. You see a lot. Like part of the book is that there's all of these situations. I remember when I was a kid, there was this exercise where they'd give you like four objects, and there'd be like a TV, a radio, a telephone, and a giraffe. You know, I'm the giraffe, and they're like, which one of these don't belong in here? Because there's a Justin Timberlake story in the book that's my daughters wanted to murder me over, but I'm sitting there having breakfast before I get into my workout and start my round at Pebble Beach, and this young man comes up and says, "Hey, man, is that seat taken next to you?" I'm like, "No, sit down." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm Jay. He's Justin." I have no idea who it is. No idea who it is. And I'm probably 40, 42, something like that. Probably a little older. And we just start talking. "I saw your name on the leaderboard." I said, "Yeah, I had a nice day. Who did you play with?" We just start talking. We just start talking. We're having lunch. So the thing before my round, we grab a little something to eat. We get a workout in, do some stretching, hit some balls, and go play. So it's not like you show up 5 minutes before you play. But so this a couple hours before, and we're just talking, and I'm on kind of a schedule, so I'm like, "Hey, man, it's great to be with you. I gotta bounce." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go too." So we walk out, shake hands. I said, "Hey, Justin, play great today. Tell so and so the pro you were playing with I said hi and good luck." And he goes, "Yeah, maybe I'll see you again." And my caddy says to me, "Are you a friend with Justin Timberlake?" And I said, "Who's that?" And he goes, "The guy you were just talking to is Justin Timberlake. He's in a boy band." And I said, "I don't know boy bands, so I don't know who he is." And he goes, "Dude, he's famous." And I'm like, so when I go home that night, I'm in my hotel room and I call my daughters and I'm like, "Girls, have you ever heard some cat named Justin Timberlake?" They're like, "Oh, damn, you are an idiot." And I'm like,
Like, they're like, "Dad, have you been in our room? His posters all
I know,
over our
right? I'm like,
walls."
I don't
Yeah.
know who that guy is. So, but I mean, but what's really cool, Dustin, about the game of golf that's unlike the other sports, it's a uniter. What we do from a charitable aspect is unrivaled in any other sports. The PGA Tour will donate more money this year than Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, and the National Hockey League combined. We're going to be
Wow.
well over $400 million. And we have, since I've been on tour, we have donated billions. And what you may or may not know in your community, and all your listeners may or may not know this, but in your community right now, there are golf events going on that raise money for sick kids, for children's hospitals, for Alzheimer's, for what ALS, whatever it is. But the charitable footprint for golf in the United States is over $4 billion this year. No other sport rivals it, bud. I don't know why the PGA Tour and the PGA of America don't blow that from the rooftops, but it's a miss as far as I'm concerned. I can't say that I got into golf because of it. I had no damn idea. But now I'm 65 and I'm really proud of that. It's
That
really cool.
that is amazing. That is fantastic. I didn't realize that. More than all of them combined.
Yeah. Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
One of the things that you just talked about and as golfer uniter and how golf mirrors life. And I got into golf late. I was 40 when I started, but now I'm hooked. Like there's no getting the
It
fangs out
teaches
of
you
me.
how to drink and swear. It's
Well,
perfect. That's what
it's
you need.
actually they helped me drink and swear, which is odd because at first I was like, yeah,
Well,
it's
you're
fun.
not
I go
playing
out.
it right. You need to come play with me. I'll teach you how to do that.
I
You're really screwing something up, pal. I don't know what it is.
I'm not saying I don't do that, but it's like there's
I'm
sometimes
teasing.
I don't have to do that when I play. But yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
teasing. I'm
I
just
dive in.
teasing you. I'm just saying it because it's just so frustrating. Like I just got finished playing a thing with Underdog. They took us down to South Carolina. We played Kiowa. My brother was down there. Bro, we get on the Ocean course, which is a great golf course. The wind is blowing sideways. It's blowing 35 miles an hour. And we get finished, and I'm the only one that played well. My brother lost. My brother's a good player. He's like a 5 handicap. He lost like 2 dozen golf balls. And, you come out, your hair's like up this, your hat's on sideways, like, Jesus, what just happened to me? And that we're all excited about playing again tomorrow. We're all nuts. We're all kooks. It's absolutely insane. And we love to hate it, and we can't wait to play it again, man. It is absolute insanity.
I love it. So, and the thing is, so I've been playing for 5 years or so. I'm absolutely hooked. I didn't let that stop me. As soon as I figured out like how much I love it and how great it is and how much it mirrors life, I got my kids into it right away. Now my daughter who's 14, she made the varsity team at her high
Right
school
on.
her freshman year. My son who's 11, he's going to start competing and he plays all sports, but he's going to it's so much fun. But the thing I wanted to talk about mirroring life, and I'd love to hear you go into depth on this, is that there are things that happen in golf, like there could be something great that happens, something bad that happens, something weird that happens, something that happens that you've never seen before, and that could happen on one hole.
Yeah.
You,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
That's just
and
like the front nine. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's like it could have all that happen in one hole, and then it's like, or in the front nine, whatever, and then you get to when you're spending that time with people, you get to see how they respond and how they react to things. Like how are they as a person? Like how do they react? Do they throw their club? Do they shrug it off, or do they
Do they
are they
count all their strokes?
do they but like when you do something wrong or do like are they supportive? Are they like, and
Yeah.
for the most part, and here's a crazy thing. I mean, this isn't like a stat or anything, but I played for 5 years and I've never played with an asshole. I have never been on the course and I've played with somebody and been like, wow, I never want to do that again, or that
Oh,
guy's
yeah,
out of
yeah,
control. I've
yeah,
I've heard I've heard horror stories. I
yeah,
know they exist.
yeah.
I know they do. But I haven't. And I'm like, that's an amazing thing. Like the game itself and what it is just a remarkable thing. And I love it, and I try to share that with anybody who will listen. Sometimes too much.
That's why the Ryder Cup and the way the fans acted up there was absolutely deplorable. We gotta get in front of this thing and change the narrative, but you're 100% right. Dustin, I said to somebody the other day, didn't play golf. I was having a business meeting, and he's a tennis guy, and I said, "That's cool." And he goes, "Yeah, my wife, we travel, we play tennis." And I said, "You know what the difference is with golf?" He goes, I go, "Tell me the coolest place you ever played tennis." And he goes, "Oh, we went to Bali somewhere and they had this tennis court that was right out in the middle of water." And I said, "That's pretty cool." I said, "What were the dimensions of that court?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "It's the same damn court you played at home. It's concrete or it's grass or it's clay, and it can change, but it's this wide, this long. You got a net, it's X high, nothing changes." I said, "Bro, go to Scotland, go to Ireland, go to San Diego, come to St. Louis. Every single golf course is different. The characteristics are different. The wind blows different. The sun shines different. It very seldom ever plays the same way twice." And here's the other thing, what you just said that he didn't realize. I said, if you play tennis with someone, let's just say you're looking for a game and there's a guy over there and you have a nice game. I don't know. And you just happen to be similar talents, because that would be no fun. If I'm really good and you suck and we can't hit it back, that's no fun. But if you play even 9 holes of golf with some stranger, there's about an 80% chance that that guy's going to stay in your life some way, shape, or form. Even if it's just a new contact in your phone and said, "I played with this cat, Torrey Pines. He's a cool dude and he's in, insurance." But that's the differentiator about golf, because there's this kindred spirit when you play together, because you experience frustration. You've also experienced that one shot where you're like, it's like angels sing or something. You're like, "I want to do that again. I can't wait to do that again. How do I do that again?" That happened to me when I was a kid, and it just still to this day resonates with me. That's the differentiator. That doesn't happen in tennis. I had Dan Deerdorf on the show years ago, and he's a wonderful guy. Not very many guys are in the NFL Hall of Fame, the NCAA Hall of Fame, and the National Broadcasting Hall of Fame. This cat is a stud. And I said, "Dan, why in the hell do we not play football to raise money for sick kids?" He's like, "You know why? Because we have golf. because golf is perfect. All the other sports don't work. Half the people can't run. We certainly don't want to tackle anybody. And I was just being facetious, but it's the truth, man. It's like golf is it. It's perfect. It also happens to be, Dustin, it's the number one hobby for Fortune 500 CEOs. It's not accidental. And the deals that I've seen and even done on the golf course, it's remarkable. You learn about who a person is by playing 3 holes with them. You could see it. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's gonna get pissed off, and it's gonna be like a volcano, and he's gonna just blow up, or he's like, "Oh my gosh, he's handled it," Like you said, what happens when that putt lips out, or you do everything right and nothing goes right? You know, you hit a good drive, it bounces in the fairway bunker. You hit a good shot out, it hits, it just goes over the green into the water. All of a sudden your score's racking up. You really haven't done anything wrong.
I'm
Happens
glad
all
you
the
just
time.
I'm glad you just said golf is perfect because I think that's something I feel, but I've never really said it that
Yeah.
eloquently.
Yeah.
And
Well, I appreciate
I
you saying
mean,
that one.
we as players, as people that are participating, are imperfect, but the game itself,
Wonderful. Do you know how many shots of scotch are in a fifth? 18. Not a mystery. Check it out. I have. It's true. And when you
yeah,
go and when you get a chance to play St. Andrews, you'll understand how bombed old Tom Morris was when he designed the 17th hole, the road hole at St. Andrews. It is the craziest damn hole you've ever seen. You could hit a hotel on your right. There's a wall on your right. There's some storage sheds right by the tee. And then they got a bunker that's as deep. It's 10 feet deep and it's got cameras in it to watch you not get out. It's rounded. There's a railroad track in the back of the green, a cobblestone road, and a wall, and all of them are in play.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because you've
Yeah.
played thousands of courses and you've
Yeah.
had thousands of rounds. Not necessarily like who you played with. I mean, that made me answer this however you want to answer it. But is there anything in your mind that you can think of as your best round of your life that you were just like in the zone and the
Mm.
day the sun was shining? Was there a moment, maybe it's your lowest score, I don't know, but just like it was all clicking?
On a Sunday in Memphis, I still have a lot of the scoring records at the TPC of Memphis at Southwind. My parents were still alive and they drove down. And on Sunday there, I shot 61. I shot 10 under par. And that's the lowest I've shot on the PGA Tour. I had a bunch of 62s and threes, but I shot 61. But my parents got to see it. Now, this is interesting because my dad's a sportsman. He knows sports. We get in the car. What does my dad say to me? Son, how in the hell did you miss that putt on number 12? And I said, Dad, are you shitting me? I just shot 10 under par, and you want to talk about the ones that didn't go in? He goes, I know, but he goes, everything else was going in. I figured that was just going to go in too. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You still have to try to make it. It still goes up there and takes weird, but that was one of them. I had I was playing in the Corn Ferry Tour Championship in Alabama. And we were down in like Montgomery or Prattville, some small place in Alabama. It was about 50 degrees and poured rain the whole day. And I shot 64 and was the low round by like 3 that day. That doesn't happen too often when you can beat the entire field by multiple strokes. Having the low score in a day by 1 is a big deal. But that was one of the best rounds. I don't know how. The last hole, we're playing in the rain and cold, and I've got a 200-yard shot out of a fairway bunker. My best friend, John Perlis, is caddying for me, and I hit this 4-iron in the hole. And I walk out of the bunker and he hands me my putter. And I said, of all times, you dumbass, to hand me my putter. I said, I don't need my putter because I obviously just, and so we had a blast with it. So one of those 2 rounds, the round at Memphis sticks out in my mind because it was so, I can remember getting to interact with my parents that are no longer alive, and that's really significant.
When you were in that zone, when did you realize, I know you're not supposed to say you're in the zone when you're in the zone,
Yeah.
but that day or those days when you're playing, when did it feel special, or did it feel special from the beginning? Like, oh, today's
You don't have that sort of awareness. The awareness that you have is everything is slow. Everything is like you can see, for me, I could see details of things better. I could see, it is the weirdest feeling. I've only probably had that feeling 10 times in my life. And the problem is you try to put yourself there, Dustin, and it doesn't go there. It happens. it's like a happening, and so you can have it and shoot. You can have pieces of it and have a good round, but a special round, like my rookie year on tour was playing in the rain. I like the bad weather. Most of the guys headed for the hills for the bad weather. I use that to my advantage and just try to have a better attitude. I wound up shooting 62 in the rain, and I can remember going, "This is so much fun." That's all, and all I was trying to do was stay in the moment. I wasn't trying to question anything. I wasn't trying to analyze anything. Any sort of that analysis, bud, takes you out of it. It breaks the seal. It's so weird. You don't want to acknowledge it until it's over. But the hole looks like a bucket. I mean, I remember up in upstate New York where I was playing in Binghamton, and I had about a 40-foot putt on the last hole, and all I could think about was how this ball was going to go in. That's all I could think about. And it broke over this hill, and it was raining, water was flying up, and I'm like, I just can't wait to watch this ball roll in the hole. And I putted it, and it rolled right in. Now, I've stood over a putt this long and known I got no chance of making this thing. How am I going to shake this thing in because my hands don't feel right? It was like putting a beach ball into a thimble. I'm like, it's going to come really close, but it's just going to roll around the edges. So it's just really, really odd. Gutting those ones in, Dustin, when you feel like crap, the day is those are the toughest of all time. When you're in the zone, when you're trying to win a tournament, that's when it's fun. When you're trying to make a cut, that's when it's hardest. And it's not even close. It's not even close. The nerves you feel about winning is this positive anxiety of like, I could lift up a building right now. I'm so jacked. I'm so geeked. My irons are flying where they need to. My putts are rolling in. When you're on the cut line, it's like something's not quite right. Something doesn't feel quite right. How am I going to shake this putt in? Give me a chance on the weekend.
Well, again, a great metaphor for life. Again, this is where it hits, and I feel like getting into that mindset, getting into that state, that flow state. Maybe you're not in the zone yet, but knowing to exercise, to eat right, and meditate, journal, listen to music, like whatever that is, to get in that comfort zone and to be able to flip that switch from nervous to excited.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. The feeling, the physical feeling of being nervous and being excited is very similar. And it's just like your mindset change. So whether that be going into a presentation or an interview or
Past.
doing anything, like how you get into that so you can just be present and be there in that moment is so important.
But talk to your children about this.
Oh yeah.
My daughters would be like, Dad, that they got the pregame jitters. They've got to, they're like, Dad, I think I'm going to puke. I'm like, that's good. Don't be afraid of that feeling. They're like, Dad, it doesn't feel good. I'm like, it's your body telling you something that's meaningful to you is about to happen. And so your body's prepping. Your adrenaline's getting poised. You're getting ready to jump higher. You're getting ready to hit harder. You're trying, and they're like, I'm like, embrace it. Don't run from it. And it's your body telling you, hey, pay attention. We got something that's important coming up, whether it's a test at school, whether it's, and hopefully you're prepared. Hopefully you're prepared. When you play sports, you're never prepared. I mean, you can be as prepared as you want to be, but you never know how the ball's going to bounce. Everybody loses, and Father Time's undefeated, man. Undefeated.
Before we take off today, and
Yeah.
this has been fantastic.
Oh, dude, I could talk with you forever. This has been a
Well,
blast.
I'm gonna
I
have
feel
you
like I've
back
known you
on.
my whole life.
I know this is great, man.
You got to just Photoshop the other end. I can't believe how old I look. Man, gotta figure this out. I'll pack the bags under my eyes and come out to
You
San
look
Diego.
great. You look great, man.
Yeah.
Before we take off, if there was one thing, and I'll include everything in the show notes to
Yeah.
your book, your show, and
Thank you.
all your online. I'll include everything in the show notes. But if you have any parting notes for any listeners or people that are viewing out there, what's one thing that you'd want to share with everyone besides
First of all,
besides tune into your show and buy your book?
well, that'd be great, but I don't care. It'd be great if you did. But here's the thing. Don't be afraid to let your kids get hurt. Don't parents come to me and say, "Can you coach my Susie? Can you coach Joey?" And I'm like, well, how do they handle defeat? Like, well, we don't want to get them hurt. I'm like, you got to go somewhere else because you got to get hurt. things are going to sting. I'm not talking about breaking your arm, but sometimes you break your arm. It's not the end of the world either. That's for something else. But here's the thing that is the most important for our generation that's out there right now. Aim for the top. Aim for the very fucking top. Don't aim for the middle. Don't aim for mediocrity. Don't aim for the middle. People are like they don't, oh, I don't want to be bad at this. You're gonna be bad at the start. It's fine. That's how you deserve and earn your way up. Aim for the top because someone's got to be at the top. Why not you? Why not you? Can you work harder? Can you get a couple of breaks? Are you talented enough? Can you put your fingerprint on your quest to get? And I don't care if it's sports, I don't care what it is. Aim high, because what you will get, you may get there, and God bless you if you do. But if you don't, you are going to get higher than you ever, the potential of getting higher than you ever realized you could is there. And it's thrilling. It's absolutely worth living for. That's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, people look at me like here's what people say to me. Oh, you never won. You never did this. You know, I'm like, nope, you're right. But man, I went for it. Did you? Did you go for it? Or do you want to be that guy that sits back in the chair and go, yeah, I knew you weren't worth a shit. Knew you couldn't do it. Those are the those are the people that stay away from them. They're joy killers. They just want to, I would rather be wrong and go for it than be right and sit on the sidelines. I want to be involved. Let's go, man. I still want to be involved. Dude, I'm running into the gym every day to try to keep the old man out. Look, it's not working in my face, but my body, I'm trying to keep it. I just want to stay involved. I want to be able to hang out with my kids as long as I can and still do cool stuff, raise money for charities, play a little golf, have a couple nice drinks here and there. I just want to keep going.
Man, and you know what? Also, we talk about aim for the top and go for it. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The person you become, the things that you learn, the people that you end up being around by going for it. Yeah, it's character building, because like you said, there's going to be ups and downs and there's going to be scars, but you can look back and say, yeah, I did it my way. I went for it.
And you know what? There's, as you said, the experiences along the way are everything. The friendships, the relationships, what you learn about yourself, dude. It's what makes us who we are. Yeah, we get a couple scars. Yeah, we get kicked in the, we got punched in the nose. Let's go back. I'm not going to get punched in the nose the same way. I'm not saying make the same mistake, but okay, it's okay. I remember watching my one daughter fall on her bike, and my ex-wife was like, and I'm like, it's okay. Watch. Is she going to get back up, or is she going to run inside? I got up. Yeah, it's cool.
Jay, thank you so much.
Oh man, my pleasure. I can't believe the hour or whatever's over. It was just went like it was 10 minutes.
I know.
I hope your listeners think that. I don't know. They'll be like, damn, I don't know.
Hey, that's our, hey, this is the journey. Like you said, if your book can reach one person, or all these things, and I tell you what, from being able to spend this time with you and getting to experience more of who you are, uh, it's worth it for me. Hopefully
Thank
other
you.
people,
I'm a
as
fan of
well.
yours as well, bro. It was great. I love what you're doing. And it's, I mean, we all need some help, right? We all need a push. You never know when or where that comes from. It might be in the car, somebody tunes in, they're having a bad day, and you just encourage them to go to the gym, or you encourage them to call their kids or their parents. You see so many families that are so jacked up because everybody's so stubborn, and oh, you pissed me off, you hurt my feelings. Get over it. That's what we do. We, we're
Another thing,
human, man.
as far as doing it, here's the thing that I always feel like: opportunity doesn't knock. It really doesn't. But opportunity will walk down your street. You got to get up off your couch, go out that door, and go
I
meet
love
opportunity.
that.
And you got to go meet opportunity,
Yeah,
because opportunity is not going to stop to knock. You got to go get it.
that's wonderful. That's true as well, too. Like, what are you waiting for it to drop in on your couch? You might have to get your ass out of the couch, put your shoes on, and go outside and see what's happening. You might
Yeah.
have to. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jay. Hey, anytime. This has been
Same,
fantastic. I'm a big fan. So
same, me too.
anytime, man.
Appreciate you.